You're listening to Sundays with Rolonda.
It's row time.
Ro, she said, I sit here and wash my dishes listening to you.
Oh, that's
And
great.
she said, you're my kitchen companion. That's what the whole thing is that you talk about and I talk about too, is that is going for your dreams, trying something new, not being afraid to fail.
We need to have passion in whatever we do. Without that passion, which is where the center of our creativity is, you're not going to have a fulfilling life.
It's Sundays with Rolonda. Talk, listen, connect.
You are listening to Sundays with Rolonda, and I'm Rolonda Watts, your host, and it means the world to me that you're joining me today. Thank you so much for listening. This is going to be quite a wonderful show. I am going to run the last interview that I did with Dr. Maya Angelou, who I adoringly called my Auntie Maya. I was very blessed in my life to be able to have such a close family friend as Maya Angelou. She was so close that I considered her like an auntie. In fact, she was closer to me in many ways than my own mother. She helped me through a lot of trying situations, whether it was my career or trying to get a love in my life or dealing with my mother or whatever it was. She was always there for me, as she was for so many people. You know, everybody thought they were her only special one, but somehow she had enough love for everybody across the world, and I bet you call her Auntie Maya too. But the inspiration, the motivation, the historical stories that are going to come, you are going to thoroughly enjoy. I really wanted to do this show today also to show you how legacy continues. You're going to meet Guy Johnson, Dr. Maya Angelou's son, her only son. You're also going to meet his son, Auntie Maya's grandson, Colin Johnson, who is bringing her voice and her legacy to a whole new, younger generation. You're going to be surprised to hear some music that is backing up Auntie Maya's poetry in her own voice. Can you believe it's rap music? Rap music and Maya Angelou. You stay tuned. You're not going to believe this. We're going to also be talking today with Van, Jewel, and Larry Cantor, who are behind Smooch Music. And wait till you get a little taste of this flavor. We'll be right back with that and so much more today as we are kicking off Black History Month and celebrating Dr. Maya Angelou, here on Sundays with Rolonda. She was born Marguerite Johnson on April 4th in 1928, and that was down in St. Louis, Missouri, but she was raised in St. Louis and Stamps, Arkansas. She would go on to publish 7 autobiographies, 3 books of essays, and several books of poetry. She was credited with a list of plays and movies, television shows, all of this spanning over 50 years. She received dozens of awards and, get this, more than 50 honorary degrees. Quite amazing. But she was a poet, a memorist, an educator, dramatist, producer, actress, historian, filmmaker, and a civil rights leader who worked with Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. She was on the lecture circuit, well into her 80s. In fact, I used to call her a rock star because she was in her bus all over the place. In 1993, you might remember when Dr. Angelou recited her poem on the pulse of morning at President Bill Clinton's inauguration. And that was the first poet to make an inaugural recitation since Robert Frost did it back with President John F. Kennedy's inauguration back in 1961. But she did all types of things and talked about how she had overcome so many obstacles to become this international giant. And then on the morning of May 28th, 2014, Auntie Maya passed. She had been ill for a while, and, she didn't even let that stop her. She was working on another book, an autobiography about her experiences with national and world leaders. And her son, Guy Johnson, who's going to also be on today's show, stated that despite being in constant pain due to her dancing career and her respiratory failure, she wrote 4 books during the last 10 years of her life. She was quite an influential person. It's amazing when you think of a life that rich and that great and has touched so many people in the most significant way. Because I think a big part of her legacy was encouraging all of us to be a bit more humane, to be kinder to each other, a bit more forgiving, and to understand that we are so much more alike than we are different. I think her words resonate over so many generations, and so much of it has a lot to do with what's going on today. She is such an inspiration. We are going to talk about her legacy. I was there at the funeral when she passed, and I tell you, you can really tell a lot about your life, I guess, when you see who shows up. Oprah Winfrey was there, Michelle Obama, and Bill Clinton, and love poured out from everywhere. Today, you're going to hear my last interview with Dr. Maya Angelou, and you will also hear from her son, Guy Johnson, and her grandson, Colin Johnson, about where the legacy is going and how, Auntie would say, I'm not done yet. So find out what's coming ahead. But first, we're going to talk with the heads of Smooch Music, which had the nerve to put some rap to Auntie Maya's poetry. I know, you have to hear it to believe it right after this on Sundays with Rolonda.
Harlem Hopscotch. 1 foot down, then hop, it's hot. Good things for the ones that's got. Another jump, now to the left. Everybody for himself. In the air, now both feet down. Since you're black, don't stick around. Food is gone, rent is due. Cuss and cry, and then jump too.
It's Rolonda.
What is happening is, because a lot of kids in the all-white neighborhoods are assimilating to the black culture, and they don't even live in a black neighborhood.
Some people, they're, identifying with some mainstream kind of pop culture representation of the black man they're seeing on BET, and they've never actually met a black person before.
Right. If they met my dad, they would conduct themselves very differently.
Right.
There's more Rolonda next. Talk, listen, connect. It's Rolonda.
The art forms that are identified as black become considered multicultural or even sometimes white, as we saw happen with rock and roll.
Uh-huh.
Where rock and roll started out very much, among the black community, and then because of the white artists coming and covering these songs, rock is considered a white thing. And so, what you have is black roots, white fruits.
There's more Rolonda next. Talk, listen, connect.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it.
Talk, listen, connect. It's Rolonda.
Rent is due, cuss and cry, and then jump too. All the people's out of work.
It is so hard to believe that is Dr. Maya Angelou rapping. And we're going to find out a little bit later from her grandson about how, right up to the point when she passed, she was still working on this album. It's called The Cage Bird Songs, and you can find it online. And her grandson is going to tell us how he's perpetuating the legacy and how he hopes that this music will help bring all of Auntie's legacy to the next generation. We're going to talk with Guy Johnson, Auntie Maya's son, and Colin Johnson, her grandson, about the legacy continuing in just a bit. And I'm also going to share with you my last interview with Auntie Maya. And I think she's going to have some wonderful pearls of wisdom and some great inspiration for you today and always. But first, I would like you to meet the Cantors. Van and Larry are the ones behind Smooch Music that came up with this idea of Maya Angelou gone rap. What's that about?
Both feet flat. Both feet flat. The game is done. They think I lost. I think I won.
Van and Larry Cantor are some of the top dogs over there at Smooch Music that came up with this idea of putting music, contemporary music that reaches a younger audience behind the age-old and continuing to live poetry of Dr. Maya Angelou. And the result is quite amazing. I'm quite interested that I can actually sing Auntie's poems now. Let's meet Van and Larry Cantor.
Harlem Hopscotch.
We believe that people who never heard of Maya Angelou the poet will be singing her poems because of our album.
Of all the things that you know about Auntie Maya, what do you hope this imparts to new generations?
The thing that was her dream was to connect with the younger generation, because they need to know who she is, because she surpasses generations, and it's the same thing through each generation. We haven't changed as human beings, we may have become more busier and all of that, but we still have to remember who we truly are. But she says we are a child of God, and we have to get back to those roots.
Yeah, we're privileged and honored just to be part of expanding her legacy.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we're celebrating today as we kick off African American History Month, the legacy of Dr. Maya Angelou. And right after this, I'm going to share with you my very special interview with the late, great Maya Angelou, who I call my auntie. And I bet you call her your auntie too. Right after this on Sundays with Rolonda. Please be sure to follow me on social media every day of the week, on Facebook at Rolonda Fan Page, and on Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, and LinkedIn, and so much more. You can reach me at Rolonda Watts. That's ROLONDA, so I can keep you abreast of what's coming up here on Sundays with Rolonda. But coming up right now, Dr. Maya Angelou, my last interview with the late, great people's poet.
Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past rooted in pain, I rise. A black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak miraculously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave. And so I rise.
You hear that voice, and you know you're listening to a national treasure. Maya Angelou. I mean, how many times has that voice gotten you through? We hear her giving us dignity, giving us grace, helping us find courage so that in our own way we can rise. Author, poet, actor, director, speaker, and such a national treasure to all of us. Auntie Maya, thank you so much for joining us this Sunday.
Thank you, Ro. I'm delighted to be talking to you. You're one of my sweet nieces, and I'm grateful that I am your auntie.
Well, I love you so much, and we've shared so many Thanksgivings and so many holidays and so many joys and laughter and even tears and pain and some good food.
Yes. Yes.
We talk every Sunday. We talk about living our lives with passion, and you have so much of it, not only in your work but in your kitchen too.
And that's the truth. Yes, everybody should have that. I mean, you shouldn't do anything if you don't have passion for it, because you will half-ass do it. And but to bring all your passion to everything, that means you dare to study how to do it well. And you won't
half do it.
That also incorporates finding those gifts and talents within you. So many people are in such transition in life, whether they're losing a job or they're losing a marriage. There's such a tremendous change and shift in so many lives, and some people feel that they have nothing left. How do you suggest or how do you encourage someone to find those gifts, those God-given gifts within themselves, to start life over?
Well, I think, first off, whenever you find yourself without an answer or answers, first stop. Just stop. Put yourself at ease. Understand that nobody knows everything all the time. So stop and realize you have to understand who you are. At some point, you have to know, I am a child of God. Or if you have no religion, but first I'm very sorry for you. But if you have no sense of your place in the universe, then I don't know how you can manage. But if you can just stop and meditate and ask for direction, ask for guidance, and don't try to do anything unless you have guidance. That's very important. So once you can do that, then you can accept that there is a place for you. You can ask and be told how to take your next step. It's very important not to just jump out and do something without any guidance. You can do the wrong thing and make a terrible mistake.
You're listening to Sundays with Rolonda. I'm Rolonda Watts, and we're talking today with Maya Angelou, who is my auntie, and if you love her as much as I do, I know she's your auntie too. And we're just talking about some good pearls of wisdom, and maybe some of this advice will help you get through this next week and maybe give you a shift in the way that you're looking at your life and maybe trying to find some passion within it. Auntie, you talk about guidance, and goodness knows faith means so much to us, but also the guidance that can come from a great auntie. I was talking to some of my girlfriends today, and we were just being very honest. We were saying, gosh, our aunties have helped us in ways moms can't. One girl said, she helped me learn how to wear a bra. She told me things my mom would never tell me. Yes. What role, and I ask you this also because many of us are coming into an age that we're the new aunties.
I know and it's so fabulous. It's a wonderful thing to be an auntie. I know that many years ago, I heard Oprah say on her program that I was the first person who told her to expect the menopause and how to deal with it. An auntie at once it dares to say things to a niece that sometimes a mother finds herself unable to say. The auntie can say, come over here, girl, sit down. Let me tell you something. You don't have to deal with this person you're with because he doesn't mean you any good. Well, the mother can't say that because the daughter might say, well, you don't like him because he doesn't belong to our religion. Or you don't like him because he's dark-skinned or he's light-skinned. Or you don't like him for some reason. But an auntie can say, girl, sit down. Let me tell you the truth. And say something that the mother would not dare say.
Exactly.
And sometimes the mother can talk about sex and sexual activity while the auntie can talk about that. But the mother cannot. The auntie can say, I hope you've got a whole slew of condoms. Listen, girl, you don't want to take care of yourself now. But the mother would never say that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I tell you, as soon as I said it at a group of people, what role does an auntie serve? Everybody had a story about some intimate piece of advice that they never could have gotten out of a mother.
It's true. I'm happy to be an auntie. And to be an auntie, to young women who are black and some who are white and some Asian ones. I have some Spanish-speaking nieces, and I have no compunction about telling them, sit down just a minute, let me talk to you. and they come willingly. I have a young one now who's 17, and she hasn't really had a tough auntie, so I'm her first, and I'm going to have an impact on her life.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, Auntie, I know personally I would not be the woman I am today without you. I know that there have been times when you have certainly given me advice that has made me straighten up, pull up my bootstraps, and keep marching strong. And I would say, Auntie said, courage. What is that? Courage is the greatest of all virtues, because without courage...
you can't practice any other virtue consistently.
Sundays just got better with Rolonda. There's more Rolonda next.
It's Rolonda.
Ro, she said, I sit here and wash my dishes listening to you.
Oh, that's
And
great.
she said, you're my kitchen companion. That's what the whole thing is that you talk about and I talk about too, is that is going for your dreams, trying something new, not being afraid to fail.
We need to have passion in whatever we do. Without that passion, which is where the center of our creativity is, you're not going to have a fulfilling life.
There's more Rolonda next. Talk, listen, connect.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it.
You're listening to Sundays with Rolonda, and I'm Rolonda Watts, and I want to thank you so much again for staying tuned. I'm sharing with you today my last interview with Dr. Maya Angelou, and later we'll hear from Guy and Colin Johnson, son and grandson to Dr. Maya Angelou, about where the legacy is headed now. But first, let's get back to our interview.
Words can be a powerful weapon. Even poetry can change the world. Can you speak a bit about that?
Well, words can heal, and words can hurt. It depends upon how the person uses them. Use words as healing forces. That's a blessing. But you know, a person can also use words to cut people's heart out. And because they're stupid, because they're ignorant, because they don't know any better. But when you really choose the words delicately, seriously, and you say, I want to use words, I, you, he, she, or it is, we are. I want to use the words love, laughter, kindness, encouragement, tenderness. I want to use words in those words to encourage other human beings to be kinder, truer, more gentle. Then this is a blessing. Then words can heal. Literally, heal the wound, heal the hurt heart, heal the hurt spirit. Every blessing has its concomitant responsibility. When you get a blessing, you have to say, thank you, Lord. Thank you, universe. Thank you, God, whatever you call it. Thank you. I have a responsibility to be up to that, to live with some grace as dealing with the children, the aged, men and women. I have a responsibility, and I want to be up to it and living it constantly. And so you can't take the gift, the blessing, as if, oh, I've got that and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to do anything about it. Yes, you do. Yes,
your work
do.
seems to be even more because you're touching so many people. We're speaking with Maya Angelou today. You're listening to Sundays with Rolonda, and I'm Rolonda Watts. I'll tell you what some of the people are saying. They're saying, Miss Angelou, I do love you. I've been a fan ever since reading I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings over 40 years ago. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that book really touched so many of us and shaped a lot of our young lives, and now it's part of the educational curriculum.
Yes, many of my books are required reading in some university or college in the United States. It's a blessing.
It really is.
There are many schools named for me, many of them around the country. And it's a blessing.
Is there one in particular? I mean, from being the poet laureate at the presidential inauguration and all the things that you've done, is there one thing that really stands out as your beaming pride moment?
Well, first, I was never the poet laureate. Miss Rita Dove, a wonderful poet, African American lady poet, was the poet laureate. I was the inaugural poet, and I've been called the people's poet. And that's a blessing, because the other poet who was called people's poet was Langston Hughes. And so I like the title. I'm grateful to have that. No one word. This is sort of like asking a parent, which of your children is your favorite? All the works are good, are my favorites. I must say that that which women and men use pleases me, and those are you used. I know what I mean. You used "And Still I Rise" to open the program. That and "Phenomenal Woman." Those two poems are used not just in this country, but all over the world, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that the poetry can be of use.
Auntie, let me ask you that. When you are so open and honest, I think that's really what got us with Cage Bird, that there were some of the darkest things that we wouldn't think that, because you're a giant to so many of us, and you wouldn't think that you had gone through such a difficult time, going through being raped and losing your voice because you thought that might have led to the murder of the man who assaulted you. But those dark times, how do you come over that and gain strength without the regrets and the ghosts that come back to haunt you from difficult times?
Well,
how do you move on?
Rolonda, I know this. I am a human being, and nothing human can be alien to me. Whatever I have experienced, other human beings have experienced. Whatever I've gone through, there are young women in China, in South Africa, in Paris, in Berlin, in Madrid, in Mexico City, in Puerto Rico, women who are going through the same thing. So whatever I've gone through is not unusual. It is unusual to me. But when I tell the truth about it, I've told the truth about other women. And they can read my work and say, my God, that happened to me. Just like that. And nobody admitted it. So thank you, Maya Angelou, for admitting that this happened.
When you look at
you see, honey, courage is the most important of all the virtues, because without it, you can't practice any other virtue consistently. You can't be consistently kind or fair or honest or true or generous. You can be anything erratically. But to be that thing time after time, you have to have courage. Not only courage to say, but courage to apologize when you've spoken out of turn. Have enough courage to go to somebody who may be your great-grandfather or may be somebody 4 years old and apologize. Have the courage to say so. And then to say, listen, everybody, you know what I said last week that I believe a child of 10 just showed me that I was wrong. And now I'm going to say, I have enough courage to say, sorry.
What do you think?
This is what makes you a woman. You see, there's a world of difference between being an old female and being a woman. There's a world of difference between being an old male and being a man. You can be born with certain genitalia, and you can be an old anything, that is, if you don't get run over by an out-of-control truck. But to become a woman, oh my Lord, to become a woman, little children feel safe in your company. People from other races feel safe in your company. if you're a man, when you walk in the room, you know when the man is there. He's not just an old male. You know that you're not going to be insulted. You're not going to be abused. A man is in the room. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So to be a woman, it takes some effort. But it is so worthwhile. Okay?
And it takes some work. It takes practice, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
It does. We're talking with Maya Angelou today, and this is Sundays with Rolonda. I'm Rolonda Watts, and we're so blessed to have Auntie. I'm so happy that you're here. There's so many people.
I'm happy to be here, darling.
Absolutely. We were talking about friendship, you and I, and you were telling me something that I have been passing on to all of my dear friends. And you were saying that, you know, your friends basically are the ones who hear your songs and sing them back to you when you forget them.
Yes,
That as we grow older, friendship becomes even more important.
Mm.
Talk a bit about that.
Well, the difficulty in growing old, I know that Art Linkletter said growing old is not for sissies. Okay, I give him that. I agree. The other thing is, however, growing old is painful because friends you have with whom you experience certain events die. They fall off their stool, as the Cockneys say. Mm. And so you have no one to agree to with whom you can agree about certain events you shared. Mm. So when you want to say, hey, do you remember, I think it was in Salt Lake City at that time, maybe it was in 1991. You remember that? Well, that person is gone. And it's very lonely. Growing old really is lonely because the people who are around you are my darlings, like you and young women and young men, my grandsons and my son and great-grands. And I mean, you weren't there. You weren't in Rome when I taught dance at the Opera House in Rome. Or in Israel, I taught dance at the Habima Theater in Tel Aviv. You weren't there when I fell in love with a South African at Osaman. But I have sister friends who were, but they're dead. Mm. And so I can't say, hey, girl, do you remember that madman? Girl, do you remember, I married a man who was very large, but I loved him, and he loved me. And then when I introduced him to an old landlady, she said, he's beautiful face, but he's fat, ain't he? I said, no, ma'am, he's stout. And after I went back in the room, I saw the man was fat. So my sister friend was there, Rose, a guy, and Rose, I'm sorry to say, died about 3 weeks ago. You see?
Yeah, but I know exactly. When you said that to me, I spend time with my friends, and we're, oh, you remember when? I do. I say, you know, relish these moments, relish these friendships, for sure.
Indeed.
Yes.
My papers have gone to the Schomburg. The Schomburg is the leading repository for African American studies and art, and so anything about African Americans and Africans in the diaspora that you really want to know, scholars will go to the Schomburg in Harlem. It is there, and so I wanted to put my papers there and make them available to anyone who wants to know what life was like between 1940s and 2010 that I knew about. So I'm happy that the papers are there. It's important. People live in direct relation to the heroes and sheroes they have, always and in all ways. And how we've lived and survived is heroic. And so it's important that people make sure that those papers, those records are kept. You see, sad to say, but during slavery, the slaves had no way of keeping the papers, the records, so that the quilts, interestingly enough, the quilts became very important because a slave who was about to be sold would cut off a piece of his shirt and a piece of his auntie's skirt and his mother's apron and then stitch it inside his own slave shirt. And when he got to wherever he was going, he gave that to somebody, and that was sewn into a quilt. So that became a piece of the story story that was told about the family. This is where Uncle so-and-so, Uncle Tommy, and Aunt Sarah, and cousin so-and-so. And this little piece of cloth showed that this is Mama Helen. And so everything is important. Just to be able to remember and be told that we didn't come from the ground like grass. We came from the ground like trees, and we have roots.
Auntie, you're also very involved in health initiatives for women these days. That has become a passion of yours.
Yes, it has always been. Mm-hmm. So that a new hospital has just been named for me, the Maya Angelou Hospital for Women's Health and Wellness. 3 hospitals and health institutions named for me, and I'm grateful for that.
Yes, we're talking to Maya Angelou today, and you're listening to Sundays with Rolonda. Auntie, when you're watching television, like the rest of us, and we're watching the news, and there are stories like the Trayvon Martin case that come up, and just these horrendous cases, what goes through your mind? What do you say that we need to do more of as a society or pay attention to? What are your observations?
Well, I think that we shouldn't stop protesting. That was a way of being 20 years ago and 30 years ago. And we should continue to protest against unfair practice, the unkindness practiced against African Americans and against white Americans and against women and against children. We should have enough courage to stand up and take a picket and take a poster and picket if something is not fair with the Latinos. Just get up, get off your butt, and get up and say, this is not fair, I don't agree with it, I will not add my silence to the silence, and that means, in that way, make people think I don't care. I do care.
Mm-hmm. I think sometimes what happens is the fear is that so many people say, well, that's not my problem. That's a problem. But it's a humanity problem, a humane.
Indeed. Well, I know that I'm a child of God, one, and I deserve the best. I give my best all the time, at home, when I'm in the street, when I'm in the classroom where I teach, when I'm working on a poem or a piece of work. I give my best, and I insist upon the best all the time. And when I don't get it, I respond to that. I stand up and say, no, 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 I deserve better than this. No, 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 I won't be mistreated. No, no, no. And so I deserve it. Now, if I really believe that, and I just sit down and say, oh, it's too bad, too sad, there's something wrong with me.
Auntie, I remember that time I asked you something like that, and you said that you get out that legal pad, which you write on very often, when you do your longhand yellow pad, And she said she makes a list, and on one side she writes all the things she's thankful for, including the pencil and the legs that she had used to walk across the room to pick him up. And I guess just being exhausted with gratitude, it takes you into a different place. But it's finding the gratitude in the madness.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I love your memory.
I mean, Auntie, there's so many things you have no idea that I remember that you've told me. That's right. Auntie, everybody's calling you Auntie now.
Yeah, of course.
You know, my favorite thing that you told me lots of things. When we take our family pictures and we all, you know, how we as kids would slump over and lean over, you say, stand straight up, square to the camera. And you told us you never lean on anybody and you only bow to God. Stand up straight because this will be history one day.
That's right. And you'll love the photograph so much more when you see the truth of it, when you see yourself standing straight, not stiff, but standing erect. Yes, that's a good thing.
And my other favorite thing that you've told me, and you've heard me say this a gazillion times, I know, but the old thing of diamonds are made from pressure. Could you share that one?
Well, diamonds are the result of extreme time and pressure. Less time, they're crystal. Less time than that, the material is cold. Less than that, it's just fossilized leaves of plain dirt. but the diamond is a result of extreme pressure, and this is true it is true for the soul, for the spirit. When you get yourself together and become of use to the planet and to everybody. Mind you, I believe anybody who can be used is useless. But when you become of use to other people, it's because you've been under extreme pressure and you've survived and done better than that. You have thrived and done better than that. You have thrived with some passion, some compassion, some humor, and some style. Isn't it? Yes,
phenomenal. Because people do go through slumps in life, and they do go through hardships, and they do make big mistakes, and you've got to move on. What do you say about regrets and people who look back and they let their past haunt them?
Oh, be careful of regret. Do the best you can. If you've done something you're not pleased with, go to everybody who you think you may have displeased and say, sorry. I'm sorry. Please accept my apology. I'm sorry. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody's... I'm sorry?
No, go on.
But no one is going to always say the right thing all the time. So you will have to apologize. But don't rue. Don't regret. Be careful of that.
Now, I spoke with another one of your very close darlings, Valerie Simpson, last week.
Yes.
And I asked her, because during the interview, she was talking, of course, about life and love and loss and moving into this new chapter of her life. And I said, we have the same mentor and heart here, Auntie Maya. What has she told you? And I want you to listen to what she said was her greatest piece of advice that you would give her, and Nick as well. Hold on, here it is.
Do your work. Mm-hmm. Do your work. Which means that, that you know what has been laid on your heart, and you spend the time. It doesn't happen automatically. It may look like it all happened overnight, but it doesn't happen overnight. And you have to constantly do your work. That means you will have to do and do and do and do, redo, to fix. We wrote songs 3 and 4 ways sometimes. So you have to do your work to come out with the best of you, so that your offering is as good as it can be. And she encouraged me to do that, and we've always done that.
Yes, you've always encouraged us to be the best of what you can do, and that's just what you were saying.
Yes, of course. And I'm happy to say you're doing it. I have no regret. I have no there's nothing about the way you approach work which makes me unhappy.
Oh, thank you.
It's true. I love the way you do it. You go through it with such energy, such directness. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. You know, another thing you told me was when I told you when I was a little girl I wanted to be a writer. And, you know, that took a lot of courage to say. You know,
well, I don't know courage or absolute madness.
I know. And you made it so wonderful. You said, well, look, all you do is take an adjective, an adverb, a noun, and a pronoun, and ball it up, throw it against the wall, and make it sing. And
make it bounce.
Just make it beautiful. Make it a Picasso. But it just, you gave such life to my passion. And you always encouraged me to live a life of passion.
And that is exactly what Dr. Maya Angelou did. She lived her life with passion, and she certainly touched so many people in her poetry, in her books, in her stage plays, her movies, her television shows, and just her love. Indeed, indeed. You may or may not be surprised to learn that Maya Angelou was actually working on about 16 different projects when she died. And now we're talking about somebody in their mid-80s. What happens now to the legacy? Well, her son and grandson fill us in right after this. On Sundays with Rolonda.
We were married for over 40 years when my husband was taken by cancer.
I'm sorry.
You know, my husband left me a note, and it said, a long life is not good enough, but a good life is long enough.
Oh, gosh, I think I'm going to cry.
And you know...
There's more Rolonda next. Talk, listen, connect.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it.
Talk, listen, connect. It's Rolonda.
Hey, just a quick reminder to please follow me on Facebook at Rolonda Fan Page. And you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and LinkedIn and YouTube at Rolonda Watts. That's ROLONDA. You can write me at ro@sundayswithrolonda.com. That's ro@sundayswithrolonda.com. Be sure to listen to Divorce Court every day, as you can listen in and hear my voice as the narrator. And please be sure to pick up Medea's Tough Love, Tyler Perry's Medea's Tough Love, and you can listen to me playing the evil Mayor Betsy Holiday. That and so much more coming up, so just stay tuned. There's always something worth talking about here on Sundays with Rolonda. But now, let's get to Guy and Colin.
First, what we want to do is we want to promote her charities and get her charities on a solid financial footing. And she had two major ones. One's to the scholarships to the historic colleges, and then she had a clinic for women and for minorities that dealt with the kind of illnesses and problems, medical problems, that are endemic to those communities. She had about 16 projects going at the time of her death.
You know, my father and I are in this business together where we are, you know, looking at her work and people that want to utilize her work and looking at projects that will both exemplify the life she lived, showcase her in obviously the best light possible, and expose her work to more people that might not have had a chance to see it while she was alive. So and that's just really our commitment and drive.
There are going to be people who say, wait a minute, hold up. Dr. Maya Angelou and rap, hip-hop, how did that happen? So, Colin, how did it happen?
Yeah, well, you know, I got to tell you, I've been asked that question many, many times. And the reality is just like so many people that have enjoyed Grandma's work. A gentleman by the name of Sean Rivera basically was moved by her work and her words. He was reading some of her books. It really helped him through a period of his life. And as an artist, he felt like the best way to give that back was to kind of set it into something that he cared about. And so he took a part of her words from her pre-recorded books and put it to some music of his. And, you know, when you do something that's from the heart for no other reason but you're just moved to do it, sometimes it develops its own leg. She definitely was, look at this project as an exciting project. And I think that what you said is really the best thing is really trying to get her work in the hands of somebody that might be of an age where, maybe reading is not their top priority or not their top love. But to put it in music and something that's attainable to them.
One of the things that's the key to her work was accessibility. So many poets, people who have quite solid reputations, believe that poetry should be something that is not accessible, so that they write in words and in phrases and in metaphors that are difficult to understand and put together. My mother felt that poetry, in order to be usable, had to be accessible to and had to carry the burden of human understanding, had to shoulder it. And so then that is what made her work so timely, because you didn't have to spend a whole lot of time with phrases that were obtuse and abstruse, but more to the point. And then she always said that rap has to be respected because it's one of the oldest forms of the human art form. Because back in the 1100s and before 1100, paper was an extremely expensive thing that only the very richest or the church possessed. And so people had to memorize their myths, their stories, their ballads, and they had to rhyme. And so rap hails back to that period, and which is why that once rap started in the United States, you can now hear rap in Polish, in Kazakhstan, in Chinese.
One of the reasons why she even, we were even able to launch a book of her quotes last year, Rainbow in the Cloud, is because some of her quotes were so poignant, just right on time. And one of the things that I think that someone could take away from my grandma's life and legacy is really how to interact with humans, how to be human in this society, how to appreciate people with differences, how to be inclusive in their own lives, and really kind of take a look at the world as you're a part of it and you have a role to play. Grandma talked a lot about being of service, and she always wanted to be of service. She didn't understand people that didn't work.
And also, she would say, I want to be of use. People who can't be of use are useless. And one of the things that is really so key about her, that Colin touched upon this, is respecting our differences and not letting it divide us.
Exactly.
You know?
You know what's so amazing?
And one of the things I know she would have said about all of these shootings in Missouri and all over and in Florida is that demonstrations are fine, but they should not be at the expense of small businesses. That once the demonstrations have been done, there is still more work to do to come up with a cohesive plan to deal with how the police are dealing with people of color. And that is the important step that has been left out of these demonstrations. That the demonstrators must all set their shoulders to the wheel and direct their efforts to changing the way the police approach people of color.
Art has been so instrumental in making us at least talk about things that are very difficult, particularly in this nation, to talk about. Selma comes out, and it's just, I just, as we're talking about Auntie Maya, I'm just thinking how art and civil rights and humanity, what a legacy to leave behind. I heard so many people in her passing say that they're going to step up their humanity game. They're going to give more. They're going to love more. They're going to forgive more because she lived and taught them that was important. And I start crying on this because you know how much she taught me. But I just, I think about her legacy that it's making everybody step up. And what would you say that if you had to give anything as we're closing here, as you are somebody who's so full of all that Maya Angelou continues to fountain out, what is your call to action maybe to people who are listening, who want to do something and don't know what to do, but how can they best express support for the legacy?
My mother used to say to me all the time, don't be a prisoner of ignorance. Expand your mind. Make yourself aware of the world around you. You know, and I think that's a key element.
Mm-hmm. Colin?
But her legacy and her work spanned every culture and language and country and continent on the planet. And she lived an amazing life. So few people on this planet will do and see the things that she's experienced. And part of that was because she was just so appreciative, as well as work hard. And she had a strong commitment to being who she was and a great citizen of this world.
You may write me down in history.
You may write me down in history.
With your bitter, twisted lies.
With your bitter, twisted lies.
You may trod me.
You may trod me.
In the very dirt.
In the very dirt.
But still like dust.
But still like dust, I'll rise.
I'll rise.
Does my assassin name upset you? Why are you beset with gloom?
Why are you beset with gloom?
'Cause I walk like I've got all wells. I'm thinking I'm living wrong.
Just like moon.
Just like moon, and like sun,
and like sun,
with the certainty of time,
just like hope, springing high,
still I rise.
Did you want to see me broken?
Did you want to see me broken?
Bowed head and lowered eyes.
Shoulders falling down like teardrops. Waking by my soul.
By my soulful cry.
Does my heart feel you? Don't you take it awful hard.
Don't take it awful hard.
I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own.
You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness. But still, like life, I'll rise.
Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my mind?
I rise.
Out of the huts of history's shame. Out from a past that's rooted in pain. Like ocean leaving wide. Rolling and swirling out there in the tide. Leave me high and spirit feel into a daybreak that's wondrously clear.
Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave.
Still I rise. Just like moons, right like sun, still I rise. Don't try to keep me down. Come back around.
You have been listening to Sundays with Rolonda. I'm Rolonda Watts, and I thank you so much for listening. For more, go to mayaangelou.com or follow Maya Angelou on Facebook. You can also go to Caged Bird Songs to find more hip-hop, and really cool songs with Auntie Maya's poetry and music. I'd also like to thank Valerie Simpson for her beautiful music and her contribution to this conversation. Now go out there and have a great day. Go out and do something good. Hey, maybe you want a hopscotch.
Harlem hopscotch. 1 foot down, then hop, it's hot. Good things for the ones that's got. Another jump, now to the left. Everybody for himself. In the air, now both feet down. Since you're black, don't stick around. Food is gone, rent is due. Cuss and cry, and then jump too. All the people's out of work. Hold for 3, now twist and jerk. Cross the line, they count you out. But that's what hopping's all about. Both feet flat, the game is done. They think I lost, I think I won. Harlem hopscotch. Harlem hopscotch. 1 foot down, then hop, it's hot. Good things for the ones that's got. Another jump, now to the left. Everybody for himself. In the air, now both feet down. Since you're black, don't stick around. Food is gone, rent is due. Cuss and cry, and then jump too. All the people's out of work. Hold for 3, now twist and jerk. Cross the line, they count you out. But that's what hopping's all about. Both feet flat, the game is done. They think I lost, I think I won. That's what hopping's all about. Harlem hopscotch. Harlem hopscotch.
You've been listening to Sundays with Rolonda.